And welcome, or if you are an alumnus or alumna, welcome back. We're thrilled that you're here for these very first GritX talks at UMBC. This first panel is very exciting. It features two alumni from theater, one professor who is an environmental engineer, and a professor who's a political scientist. A great representation of the variety of strength at UMBC. I would like to introduce our first pair of speakers. Kirsten Pagan, who graduated with her BA in theater in 2011, is a photographer, marketer, manager, and general champion for the arts in Baltimore. She earned her BA in design and production from theater at UMBC in 2011. She, alongside other UMBC alumni, formed the Interrobang Theater Company in 2014. It's a small theater company focused on offering professional opportunities for young theater artists and establishing Baltimore as a vital city in the contemporary theater scene. Kiirstn also works full-time at Baltimore's Everyman Theater as the graphic designer and video producer. Kiirstn often takes on graphic design, marketing, consultation, and photography projects when she's not working for Everyman and Interrobang. And in her limited spare time, it's hard to imagine having spare time with all of that, all those occupations and opportunities, Kiirstn enjoys showering, eating Chipotle, petting kittens, and organizing things. Her partner in presentation today is Katie Heilmann, who is the artistic director and founding member of the Interrobang Theater Company and a very proud BFA acting grad from UMBC in 2012. At Interrobang, Katie has worked as a writer, director, and actor. Acting credits with Interrobang include Kermore, which is a co-production with the Strand Theater Company. I would note also that Kermore was written by one of our theater faculty, Susan McCulley, Heavy Hors d'oeuvres, and Scab. Most recently, Katie and the Interrobang Theater team had the privilege of touring Kermore with UMBC's Girl Parts Productions performing at Fringe, New York City, a very competitive fringe festival to get into. Outside of Interrobang, Katie has worked with many local theaters, including Rep Stage, Single Carrot Theater, Iron Crow Theater, Force Collision, EMP Collective, and Rainbow Theater Project. So it's a pleasure to welcome Kirsten Pagan and Katie Heilmann, who will be talking about when art becomes your business. Kiirstn and Katie.
Thanks, guys.
Thanks.
Thank you. Hello, everyone.
Hi.
How's everyone doing? Good. My name is Katie Heilmann. I'm the artistic director of the Interrobang Theater Company.
And I'm Kirsten Pagan, and I'm the managing director of the Interrobang Theater Company.
And we're here today to tell you the story of how we started our very own theater company in Baltimore.
And the story actually starts right here at UMBC. We all went to UMBC, and we first met when we worked on a little show called Las Meninas, which the theater department did in the fall of 2010. I was the stage manager. Katie was an actor in the show, as well as our other co-founders, David Brazington, Jesse Poole, and Brady Wheelton. And this was an important show because we all met for the first time. We went through a huge tour with the show, and it was cool. It was successful. And I graduated in 2012 after the whole Las Meninas thing happened, and I went on to work at Center Stage, a professional theater in downtown Baltimore. And Katie?
I graduated with my BFA in acting in 2012, and I didn't do anything with my degree post-college. I thought theaters would be lining up to hire me because I had just done this amazing show professionally before I even graduated, but that turned out to not be the case. It turns out that acting is really hard. But what I did do is I did read a lot of scripts, and in the summer of 2013, I read a script called Scab by Sheila Callahan. I had sort of been going through all of her plays. I discovered her while I was a student at UMBC and totally fell in love with her, so I was just going through her canon, and I came across Scab, and it really struck me in particular because all I could do was picture myself and my friends in all of the roles. It's a really relatable, really compelling script, and so I thought to myself, we have to do this. So I reached out to my friends who also were not doing anything post-graduation, and I said, let's do this. Let's put on a show. Why not? So we all got together and started to plan a production, and as you can see, there's a lot to take into consideration. Almost too much for 5 actors who have never really been on the other side of the table to take on. So I decided I needed help, so I reached out to the best and brightest theater professional I knew, Miss Kirsten Pagan.
So when Katie contacted me, I had been working at Center Stage doing marketing, and so that was sort of my expertise. And as we talked more and more about producing the show, we quickly realized that we didn't want to just produce a show, that we really wanted to create a company where we could do more shows like this in the future and offer opportunities like the ones we were creating for ourselves for other students coming out of academia to conquer.
So the first 2 things we needed were a name and a mission. The name actually came really easily. A member of our company, Jesse Poole, had this word and this symbol in mind, an interrobang. And an interrobang is this symbol right here. It's a punctuation mark. It's a combination of an exclamation point and a question mark, and it basically represents what those 2 punctuation marks, those feelings that they invoke, bringing them together. And we really liked that because not only is it like a fun word to say and people are wondering what that's about, but it's really representative of the work that we're trying to do in Baltimore and I guess the feelings that we want our audiences to have when they leave our shows.
So once we figured out a name, we needed to determine a mission. We needed to figure out what we wanted this company to do. And so we had a little bit of practice from the capstone class that we took as a part of our theater education here at UMBC. And so we came up with 3 major tenets that we wanted to focus on. The first is producing new and contemporary plays. We want to provide challenging opportunities for young artists and theater makers emerging from academia. And we wanted to do all of this in Baltimore.
A big question we get asked all the time is why Baltimore? Why not DC, where the theater scene is huge? It's, I think, one of the largest in the nation. But we love Baltimore. We see it as a place of potential and a place for growth. It's a place where artists are doing their art because they feel passionate about it. It's not because they're trying to get a lot of money or get a lot of people to come see it. They're doing the work because they want to, and we really respond to that. It's also a place that's really receptive to new and interesting work. And so when we arrived and said, hey, we're a new theater company, everyone welcomed us with open arms, and we're really proud to be a part of that Baltimore theater community. It's also just, a little cheaper to produce in Baltimore, which is really nice when you're just starting out.
So once we had our name and we had our mission, we got an email, we got a website domain, we filed 4 articles of incorporation, we opened a bank account, and then we started to fill out the forms for our 501c3 nonprofit status. And once we got to this point, everything felt very real and serious, but cool and exciting because we start talking about terms like president and vice president and secretary and treasurer and bylaws, and that was kind of scary, but also super cool. So once we laid this foundation of a company, of a business for theater, we turned our attention back to SCAB, to the art, and we started to assemble a team of people to help make this happen. I had met a woman named Lola Pearson while I was an intern at Center Stage, who is a director in Baltimore. She read the script, was totally on board with working with us on it, and she actually runs her own theater company in Baltimore, and they happen to have their own venue. So we were able to work out a deal with Lola to produce SCAB at her venue, which is a church in Station North in Baltimore City.
But we still had no money to speak of because we were brand new. We all made pretty sizable loans up front. We all accepted that that was something that would have to happen to get things started. But obviously, we wanted to make that money back, and it's also nice to make a little extra, too, if you can. So we decided to have a cultivation event. Our company member, David Brasington's aunt, was generous enough to open up her home to us, and we built a theater in it, in her living room, with lights and everything, and we did a couple of scenes from SCAB. We served some hors d'oeuvres. We talked to some potential donors, and people were really receptive and really generous, and we were able to purchase a light board off of that event, which was a big deal for us, and we were also able to fund the show.
So then we do SCAB, and we have our tech rehearsals, we open the show, and people come to see it. We get a really nice write-up in the Baltimore Sun, just sort of introducing us as a new company in the theater scene, and people see the show. Like, we have good audiences and people seem to like what we're doing. And most importantly, we make enough money to pay our loans back to ourselves, plus a little bit more to pay ourselves small stipends for the work that we did. And we had enough money to continue producing, so we did.
So since SCAB, we've done 6 shows. Most recently and most notably was Kermore by UMBC professor Susan McCulley. That was a huge collaboration between ourselves, UMBC, and the Strand Theater. And during its run in November 2015, it was a part of the DC Women's Voices Theater Festival, which is a huge initiative for women playwrights in the DC-Baltimore area. It was a part of Charm City Fringe that year, and we actually just got back from doing it in New York as a part of NYC Fringe in August, and that was very exciting for us.
Yeah, it was. So here we are now, about 3 years later, 6 shows in, roughly 580 likes on Facebook, 550 followers on Twitter. So what's next? Well, we don't really know, to be perfectly honest, but what we do know is that theater at its heart is a collaborative art form with lots of different artists of lots of different mediums coming together to produce a thrilling live experience. And we found that founding and managing Interrobang takes that same energy.
The art can't exist without the business. One side can't exist without the other. It's almost like the Interrobang itself. It represents two things coming together to make something new, exciting, and different. So while we're obviously still learning, we're really lucky to have had UMBC be with us every step of the way, and we're really, really proud to have gone to an institution that continues to care for and foster their artists even after they graduate.
So thank you.
Thank you.